Our story begins inside of the Mandalore Palace as glass shards are spreading through the room, igniting the room in a bright orange light and the echo of battle. Ahsoka Tano was staring right at Darth Maul, former Sith Lord, and this man was holding out his hand for her to take. Ahsoka couldn't exactly describe it, but there was a feeling within her that Maul was telling the truth, a feeling that he could be trusted, not forever, but certainly in this moment, as there was just this desperation behind his eyes. Ahsoka would first ask Maul what he wants with Anakin Skywalker, and Maul would reveal that Anakin is the key to everything, not to bring balance, but to destroy. Ahsoka wanted to ignite her lightsabers and run right at Maul. She wanted to defeat and arrest him just for suggesting such a thing, but she couldn't do it. She'd seen flashes in the past. There was a darkness deep inside of Anakin, and if Maul is telling the truth, then it would be foolish of her to act irrationally. Maul reached out even further, telling Ahsoka they must go now. He has a ship waiting for him just outside of the city. They can still stop Sidious. Maul watched Ahsoka approach him, and finally, she reached forward to grab his hand, accepting this temporary partnership. For Ahsoka, having this trust from someone who was supposed to be a sworn enemy was interesting after all she's been through with the Jedi. From her point of view, the Jedi abandoned her for politics when she did nothing wrong. And so, having this trusting hand to grab onto, it just felt good. The two of them would leave the city, breaking through the dome to get into Maul's ship, where a bounty hunter pilot would be waiting. And as they made the hyperspace jump, Maul would finally reveal who the Sith Lord truly is. Across the galaxy, many hours later, Chancellor Palpatine was seated at his desk, awaiting Anakin's arrival. Things were moving quickly around the galaxy. His separatist spies from Utapau have informed him that General Kenobi has begun his attack, and he was sure that Anakin, as the Council's representative and spy, would be making his way here shortly. But as Palpatine waited, he felt a sudden disturbance in the Force. A presence he recognized was approaching. An enemy was coming for him. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker was indeed landing at the executive building. Moments ago, Commander Cody had informed him, Windu, and a few other Jedi that Kenobi has engaged Grievous on Utapau. Anakin was assigned to come tell the Chancellor about this and gauge his reaction. Anakin was trying to balance his duties as Palpatine's personal representative, being a council member, being a spy on the council against Palpatine, all the while trying to find a solution to save his wife. But he knew one thing for certain, is that he trusted Palpatine. The man was kinder to him than anyone in the galaxy, so patient, so understanding, and Anakin didn't mind the assignment to spy on him, solely because it gave Anakin more time to just talk to the wise man, who the Jedi foolishly think could be working with the Sith. But today, as Anakin was climbing the stairs to the office, everything would change. A huge blast could be felt through the building, around where Palpatine's office is. Anakin didn't hesitate. He took off, running through the stairs, through the halls, sprinting as fast as he could, until Palpatine's office finally came into view. There was heavy smoke and fire, emerging from the broken down doorways. Anakin didn't stop running. He sprinted through the doors, pushing away smoke, calling out for Palpatine, and as he entered, Anakin found a truly horrifying sight. The windows were blasted through, with a ship that somehow snuck through Coruscant's security grid. Palpatine's desk was obliterated, and where the desk used to be, Ahsoka Tano was standing, with a lightsaber piercing Palpatine's chest. Palpatine looked over to Anakin with sad eyes, begging for help. Ahsoka's voice was caught in her throat. It all happened so fast. Maul said that he knew a secret path into Coruscant from his time here. The two of them had planned everything perfectly. Over many hours, they planned it. They flew in past security, blasted through the office. And as Palpatine recovered and saw Maul, Ahsoka snuck in and ended it. But Anakin was never supposed to be here. Anakin looked over to Ahsoka, then to Maul, and he wasn't thinking straight at all. He just saw the man that he thought of like a father dying on the floor, with Ahsoka's lightsaber inside of him. Ahsoka pulled the blade from his chest. She was about to speak. She was going to tell the full truth. But Anakin only saw a former Sith in Maul, and now a traitor in Ahsoka. He screamed out with anger, blasting Ahsoka with a huge force push as she went flying out of the window. Maul then smiled at Anakin, saying he'd love to stick around, but he has to go and save their apprentice. Maul leapt out of the window, flying as far as he could go. Anakin scrambled over to Palpatine, holding him up, but he was on his final breaths. Ahsoka's lightsaber had pierced his heart. Anakin then noticed a lightsaber in Palpatine's hand. Fear engulfed his heart as he realized what this could mean. He desperately asked Palpatine if it's him. Is he Darth Sidious? And in his final breaths, Palpatine let out a small laugh, knowing that a dark future would still be coming for the Jedi. Outside of the building, Ahsoka Tano was hit so hard with the Force, and as she fell towards the ground, everything was spinning. She slammed extremely hard into a speeder, then crashed into the side of the building, bouncing so hard off of it, going in and out of consciousness, as she fell to her certain death. But where the impact of the ground should have ended her, she was instead caught, slowly lifted to the wet street. And as Ahsoka lay injured, she was keeping herself alive with emotions that she didn't know she had. Emotions that were revealed after being betrayed again. She just killed the Sith Lord, holding the galaxy hostage, and in return, her master, the only Jedi she believed in, attempted to kill her. The Jedi Council, Anakin, all of them have betrayed her. None of them truly cared for her life. They all saw her as a tool of war. No one would be coming to help her. But as Ahsoka lay on the wet ground, with rain pelting her, soaking her puddle of blood, there was one hand that once again reached out to her. After everything, it was Maul who was reaching out. It was Maul who was offering her help. It was Maul who told her the truth about the galaxy. And now, Maul was telling her that they have to go. Republic security will be coming for them. And so, Ahsoka reached up to once more take Maul's hand, joining him in their escape. And for hours, the Coruscant Guard would be on a full search for Ahsoka and Maul after viewing the security footage. For hours, they found nothing. There was a search team for Ahsoka's body, and although they found traces of her blood, there was no body found. This would haunt Anakin as the Council was beginning to gather. Anakin reported everything, including the evidence pointing to Palpatine being Darth Sidious. Windu asked why Maul would do this, and Obi-Wan said that Maul was abandoned by the Sith long ago. He may hate Sidious more than he hates the Jedi, and now he has the first steps of his revenge. But Maul will not be one to rest. The Jedi will surely be next, and if Anakin's reporting of the situation is correct, then he may have a new apprentice in Ahsoka Tano. Still, Anakin refused to believe it, but he remembered the moment that he pushed Ahsoka out of the window. In his rage and confusion, he'd been seeing red. It was an attempt to kill her, and Anakin didn't expect her to forgive him. He just lost Palpatine. He just betrayed Ahsoka. He still thought Padme was going to die. Everything was falling apart. And across Coruscant, deep in the industrial sector, Ahsoka and Darth Maul were sitting in an old abandoned building as they waited for the search team to die down. Maul knew this area like no one else. He basically grew up in this sector, and as the two of them sat together, Ahsoka said they should just turn themselves in. They did the right thing. Maul snorted, calling Ahsoka foolish for not yet seeing it. The entire system is corrupt enough to allow Sidious to rise to power. The Jedi couldn't see it because they are corrupt and blind. The Senate and the courts will have them executed. And Maul would convince Ahsoka that the two of them are outcasts. They are one and the same. They must stick together. Ahsoka had begun to agree with this deep down, but she told Maul that she's no Sith. She just isn't a Jedi either. She wants to be something more. Maul would then ask her to come with him to the Outer Rim. He's building something that she can be a part of. Something that has real meaning. Is it a criminal empire? Sure. But Maul told her they're taking on corporations, slave empires, and Maul understands being an outcast. He understands betrayal, but she can be a part of something new. And so, Ahsoka would follow Maul, because there was nowhere else to go. They vanished into forgotten systems, where the Republic really had no reach. And Maul would not call her apprentice right away. He would give her space, letting her find the darkness on her own. In this part of the galaxy, finding the darkness was no problem. At night, Ahsoka would relive Anakin's eyes, as he saw her as a murderer in that moment. Before she could even speak to him, she was thrown to her death. Eventually, Ahsoka and Maul made their way back to the head of Maul's crime empire, and Ahsoka would see syndicates bound by fear as Maul announced her position as second in command. When a Black Sun warrior questioned it, Maul killed him, without hesitation. Strength was key here, and from that moment on, no one would argue. Maul began her training by subtly taking her to the worlds that the Jedi never saw. There were worlds with people stripped bare by Republic-backed corporations, children taken by slavers who paid their corrupt Senate fees on time, entire systems taxed into starvation while Coruscant was debating procedure. And Maul would fuel Ahsoka's darkness against these terrible people as they would kill slavers, burn down their towers, leave the chaos behind as a warning that their crime empire was coming. But it was different. Ahsoka was making it different. She began to feel something taking root deep inside of her, as she realized that the Force was answering her faster out here. She was becoming sharper, stronger, less filtered, darker, even while trying to stay in the light. There were, of course, nights that she would resist it, nights that she meditated, the way she used to with the Jedi, reaching for her calm center, remembering the good times with Anakin, Plo, Yoda, Kenobi. But then, she remembered the war, the death, all of it fueled by a Sith Lord, fought in by the Jedi. She knew Maul was not a good person, but soon she almost didn't care. She no longer would believe that anyone was truly good. She eventually saw the power in Maul that she wanted for herself. And around half a year after disappearing into the Outer Rim, Maul and Ahsoka would strike at a corporate convoy protected by Republic warships. Ahsoka boarded one of the cruisers. She didn't slaughter the crew. She took the bridge, transmitting proof of the corporation's secret slave contracts to every system in the sector before venting the vault and escaping. The Republic once more, though, would brand her as a terrorist anyway. And that night, something inside of her finally broke. The belief that the Jedi could still be redeemed, that the Republic could be redeemed, it all fell away. If truth made no difference, then justice had to be taken, and she would be the one to do it. And when Maul told her that he secretly took the crew as prisoners, Ahsoka walked in and slaughtered them. By the end of a full year, her lightsabers were red. She was truly Maul's apprentice. In the Syndicates, her word would carry the same weight as Maul's. In the Outer Rim, her name was feared. And when she looked back towards the Jedi, toward her old life, towards the temple that raised her, she feels no grief. The Jedi, she knows, are not protectors of peace. They're shields to hide what is truly wrong in the galaxy. And for the galaxy to finally work as intended, their gates must burn. So, for this long year, Anakin Skywalker had embraced the Jedi way more than ever before. Shortly after Ahsoka's disappearance, Anakin had prayed and begged the Force to save Padme, and she gave a safe birth to 2 twins. But Anakin vowed that the twins would not become Jedi. He saw what the Jedi path and the war took from so many children like Ahsoka, and he just wanted them to have normal lives. Padme was working closely within the Senate, but she was taking a ton of time to be with Anakin and the kids. Anakin often thought of Ahsoka. He would read the reports where she was spotted in the Outer Rim. He just wished the two of them could talk, but she's fallen down a path that Anakin nearly fell down, and reaching her would not be easy. The days, weeks, and soon the years would fly by, blending together. Maul continued to teach Ahsoka in the dark side, and they continued to grow their Shadow Collective empire. Where Maul commanded fear, Ahsoka commanded a new sort of belief. People followed her because she listened, because she remembered faces and names. She understood what it meant to be used and discarded. The Shadow Collective would grow faster under their combined influence than it ever did under just Maul. But behind the seductive nature of how she brought people in, she showed true strength. Anyone who challenged her was defeated and killed. And as the collective spread, its presence began to bleed into Republic space. At first, it was just intercepted shipments, but within months, it was corporate accounts drained. Entire operations were collapsing overnight. So, the Republic began fighting back, as Ahsoka was no longer just stealing from the powerful, she was humiliating them. Every one of her victories would expose how thin the Republic's authority truly was beyond the core, and it was during one of these operations that Ahsoka would kill her first Jedi. Sazitan was leading a Republic-backed intervention under the banner of peacekeeping. He would corner Ahsoka during a raid on a weapons manufacturer quietly supplying slavers. Ahsoka asked him to see the truth, but he just said he has a duty to bring her in. So Ahsoka attacked, and she struck him down, affirming her place as an enemy to the light. Across the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker felt in the Force the moment Ahsoka struck down her first Jedi. The guilt overwhelmed him. He threw himself into the light to hide his guilt, becoming everything the Order praised, speaking endlessly of duty and forgiveness, of the Jedi way as absolute truth. But it was all just a performance deep down. The more he insisted on his path of light, the less he had to face what he tried to do to Ahsoka. The Council would see a model Jedi, but Obi-Wan became deeply worried about Anakin. He knew this was not him. And out in the galaxy, as clashes between the Republic and the Shadow Collective escalated, Maul and Ahsoka would oversee the creation of the Arc Pulse Generator, a brutal evolution of old Mandalorian tech, mixed with ancient Sith tech. Maul's time on Mandalore and with the Sith would give him the idea for a weapon that does not target people directly, it targets kyber crystals. When activated, it could send a cascading pulse, destabilizing a kyber crystal anywhere, causing it to overload and disintegrate the one bound to it. You just had to be in range on the planet. A lightsaber was essentially a conduit for death. This would be the path to exterminating the Jedi. Ahsoka did not hesitate over the weapon's morality. She has embraced the way of the dark side fully, and she would intercept a Senate transport with 5 Jedi Knights on board. She knew none of their names, and as the Shadow Collective warriors boarded the ship, she turned on the weapon for the very first time. The result would be horrifyingly efficient, as the Knights were disintegrated. The transport would be freed, and the senators aboard would send a message to Coruscant, warning them that the Jedi are in danger. But within the hour, the Jedi would receive this warning. Alarms on Coruscant would begin to blare. The Crime Empire was here, finally making their grand move. The Shadow Collective ships would tear out of hyperspace, pouring cannon fire into the defensive blockade, full of clones who'd been waiting for another great battle. In the planet, drop pods would rain into the streets as pirates would run out for the ground attack. They were brutal, moving in to begin collapsing sky bridges, forcing clones and Jedi into brutal fights. Vibroblades and blasters would clash with lightsabers in the smoke-filled streets. Blaster fire turned plazas into killing grounds. Jedi were stretched thin, pulled in too many directions at once. But that was the point of it all, from Maul and Ahsoka. The clones were fighting like they always had, but this enemy was different from droids. Shadow Collective fighters regrouped, striking again from unexpected angles, using civilians as cover by fighting where the Republic cannot afford to fire back. And above it all, slipping through the chaos, Ahsoka and Maul moved forward. Their ship was small. Masked by the constant noise of the battle, they flew low as Maul handled the approach, while Ahsoka monitored the Arc Pulse Generator. The Jedi Temple loomed ahead, and the two of them planned to unleash the generator on the Temple, killing every Jedi here on Coruscant in a single instant. But despite their great plan, there were 2 Jedi that Ahsoka and Maul could not hide their presences from. And as Ahsoka and Maul disembarked together, getting onto the exposed platform of their ship, they would activate the generator, preparing to eviscerate every single Jedi. Its coils were glowing faintly, turning to kyber signatures echoing through the temple and all around the planet. But before they could push the final button, Anakin and Obi-Wan would land, pushing them away from the generator. For a long moment, none of them moved. Obi-Wan and Maul looked to each other, with over a decade of history between them. Anakin only saw Ahsoka, not the leader of an empire, not a galactic threat, just the person he failed, standing as his new greatest enemy. Ahsoka met his eyes without flinching. Anakin saw her yellow, dark eyes, the eyes of the Sith. He said he was sorry for everything, but Ahsoka was gone, and as Anakin tried to destroy the generator, Ahsoka and Maul would fly in at the Jedi. Anakin struck fast and forcefully, but something he found was quickly missing. His movements were powerful, but hesitant. Ahsoka felt it immediately. She moved with the precision that Anakin was missing. Her footwork was tighter. Her strikes were perfect. She didn't try to overpower him. Instead, she redirected with pure skill, forcing him back step by step. And every clash was carrying what was left unsaid in that office, here on Coruscant. Ahsoka deep down knew that this was not the path that she ever wanted, but it was too late. She'd gone too far. Anakin pressed harder, frustration bleeding into his swings, as she remained focused. Nearby, Obi-Wan and Maul collided in a blur of red and purple. This duel was older and heavier. They anticipated each other perfectly, blades locking and separating in showers of sparks. The balcony began to crack beneath them as Maul drove Obi-Wan towards the edge. And back with the others, Anakin lashed out with the Force, hurling parts of the ship at Ahsoka, trying to overwhelm her the way he once could, but she cut through it cleanly, stepping inside of his swing and cutting into his shoulder. Shock would flash across Anakin's face, but he used the pain, hammering at her with pure strength. For a moment, she was driven back, but she planted her feet, letting the dark side answer her, and in a smooth swing, she cut through his wrists as both of his hands would fall away. The years without fighting would catch up to Anakin. Ahsoka has been training every day for exactly this moment. And before he could even react, Ahsoka stepped in, slicing across his chest and kicking him into a far wall. At the same instant, Obi-Wan and Maul struck together as both of their blades would plunge into each other's guts. Obi-Wan exhaled, looking down where the red blade had pierced him. Maul smiled through the pain. Both pulled back, collapsing to the floor. Both wounded, staggering, the rivalry finally ending evenly. And Ahsoka looked around as she was the last one standing. Maul was gasping through heavy breaths, telling her to finish it. Together they will rise as Sith Master and Apprentice. Ahsoka looked down at him, crawling over to her, and she told Maul he's done well, but his usefulness has come to an end. As Maul looked up at her, Ahsoka's red blade would slice right across his neck. He fell dead, and Ahsoka didn't hesitate another moment. She activated the weapon and threw her own sabers away. Light would coil around the weapon's core. Threads of electric blue would blast outward in expanding rings, rippling through Coruscant. Across the skyline, Jedi would fall. Their lightsabers would scream and destabilize, exploding inward, disintegrating them. Blades would shatter mid-swing, knights falling where they stood in a single moment. In the temple, the effect was catastrophic, as energy tore through the spires and entire chambers were wiped clean. The great structure would remain standing, but it was empty of Jedi. The hum would fade, leaving behind only drifting ash, as the Jedi were gone. Anakin was still alive, holding Obi-Wan in his arms, as Obi-Wan was one to disintegrate, still holding his own lightsaber. Luckily for Anakin, his lightsaber was thrown away. He was not holding it when the weapon was activated, and so he was still alive. But he felt the darkness overwhelming the Force, as all of the Jedi were gone. He would look up to Ahsoka, standing on the ship balcony, dark robes flowing in the wind. Anakin tried to speak, to curse her, but his voice was stuck. Ahsoka slowly turned, holding her hand forward, lifting him up with the Force, choking him, and with the full power of the dark side within her, she killed her former master and threw him off of the ship. With the Jedi dead, Ahsoka would call a full retreat, and she would stand alone as the ruler of her crime empire. Within just months, the Shadow Collective would stop pretending to be a criminal network and become something closer to a shadow government. Everyone knew the truth. If Ahsoka Tano chooses to move, there's nothing left that could stop her. The Republic would remain intact in name only, as Ahsoka was essentially a Sith Empress. Over the years, she was seen rarely, but when she appeared it was decisive. Uprisings would end overnight. Rebellions would collapse before her. Her presence in the Force was immense and cold. What remained of Ahsoka was fading slowly. She was a vessel of the Sith, of darkness, and a decade after the fall of the Temple, the galaxy would exist in a state of permanent tension. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Sith Empress would watch it all, knowing she was the true ruler. And folks, that is our story for today. Dark side story. If you guys want a light side ending, go check out just about any other of my videos. But yeah, when I thought of this idea, I mean, I've definitely done ideas like this, at least, in title. But I was like, hey, what if we just go brutal dark side on it? And yeah, a lot happened. I thought it was fun. Appreciate you guys. I know some of you are probably like, dang, that's pretty brutal. But haven't really done a dark side, super dark one in quite a while. So, sorry Anakin, you're dead. I think Anakin died in a video a few videos ago too, so tough luck. He survives in most of them. Had to kill him off with his own apprentice. I thought it was a fun concept. Ahsoka, in the end, being betrayed by every Jedi that she trusted, essentially. Obviously, it takes a stretch to turn Ahsoka to the dark side. I don't think she ever really is what character that would fall to the dark side. But this is a what-if story, so that's the what-if we're pursuing, and I enjoyed it a lot. Hope you did as well. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.